For a few seconds, the bird does not move. It sees you. You see it. And everything in your yard seems to pause. A cardinal sits halfway between the feeder and the fence. A chickadee grips the edge of a branch. A robin stops with one foot pressed into the grass, its head tilted just enough to make you wonder if it is looking at you, through you, or at something behind you. Then suddenly, wings flash. The bird is gone. Most people think that moment is simple. The bird got scared. You came too close. It panicked and flew away. But that tiny pause before it escapes is not panic. It is a decision. In those few seconds, a bird is reading your body, measuring distance, checking escape routes, listening for warnings, and deciding whether you are harmless, unpredictable, or dangerous enough to leave immediately. And the strangest part is this: the bird may not be reacting only to what you are doing now. It may be reacting to what it remembers about you from yesterday, last week, or even from another human who moved the same way you just did. What looks like fear is often calculation. What looks like stillness is actually a test. Tonight, we are going inside that silent moment, the 3 seconds before a bird decides whether to stay or vanish. Because once you understand what birds are doing in that pause, your yard will never feel the same again. You will start noticing the head turn before the wing beat, the frozen posture before the escape, the way one bird leaving can empty an entire feeder. And by the end, you will understand why some birds return to your yard every morning, while others never give you a second chance. Welcome back to Backyard Bird Mind. Subscribe before you leave, because what we are about to cover happens in your yard almost every day, usually so fast you miss it. And stay until the end, because the final signal birds use before flying away is so subtle that most people do it without realizing they are scaring every bird in the yard. Number 1. The freeze is not fear. It is information gathering. When a bird suddenly goes still, its body may look calm, but its senses are moving faster than yours. A small bird does not have the luxury of guessing wrong. To a chickadee, a robin, or a sparrow, one bad decision can be the difference between another sunrise and becoming food before the day ends. So before it flies, it collects information. It watches your speed first. A slow human is different from a fast human. A person walking past the yard without turning their head feels very different from a person who suddenly stops, faces the feeder, and stares. Birds are extremely sensitive to changes in movement. Not just movement itself, but the intention behind it. That is why a bird may allow you to walk across the yard while carrying groceries, but vanish the second you turn your shoulders toward it. To the bird, your body just changed meaning. Your hands matter too. A hand rising quickly, even if you are only waving, adjusting your glasses, or lifting a phone to take a photo, can look like the beginning of an attack. Predators strike with sudden motion. Hawks drop fast. Cats spring without warning. So when your arm moves too quickly, the bird's ancient survival system does not wait to ask what you meant. It prepares to leave. This is why people who feed birds every morning sometimes notice something strange. The birds are not equally afraid of everyone. They may tolerate one person standing near the porch, but flee when someone else steps outside. They may stay calm when an older person moves slowly, but scatter when a child runs toward the feeder. That is not random. Birds are building a file on the living things around them. They learn patterns. They remember safe routines. They notice who refills the feeder and walks away, who lets the dog out, who moves suddenly, who stares too long, and who never seems to bother them at all. And once a bird decides you belong to the safe pattern, the freeze becomes shorter. It may still pause. It may still watch, but it does not always leave. That is the first hidden test birds use before trusting your yard, not whether you are close, but whether your movement predicts danger. And then comes the second test, the one most people never notice. Before a bird flies away, it checks the exits. Number 2, birds do not only look at you, they look at the way out. Before a bird decides to stay near you, it has already measured the space around it. The fence line, the nearest shrub, the low branch under the maple, the gap between the feeder and the hedge, the open air above your lawn. A bird standing calmly at a feeder may look relaxed, But in its mind, there is almost always a map. If danger comes from the porch, it can dive into the cedar. If danger comes from the left, it can shoot toward the fence. If a hawk appears overhead, it can drop low into the thickest cover before the shadow reaches it. This is why birds often seem braver near bushes than in open grass. It is not because they trust you more there. It is because the yard gives them more options. A robin feeding in the middle of an open lawn may fly at the smallest movement, but that same robin, only 10 feet from a dense shrub, may let you step much closer. The difference is not personality. It is escape math. And birds are doing this math constantly. They know when a feeder is too exposed. They know when a branch is too far from cover. They know when a cat could hide under a deck, when a window reflection looks wrong, and when a human is standing between them and the safest exit. That last part matters more than most people realize. You may not be walking toward the bird at all, but if your body blocks the path it planned to use, the bird may leave instantly, not because you attacked it, but because you accidentally removed its best escape route. And then, something even more interesting happens. One bird's decision becomes information for every other bird nearby. When a chickadee freezes, other chickadees notice. When a robin gives a sharp alarm call, the yard listens. When a mourning dove explodes into flight, the sound of those wings can warn birds that never even saw the danger. This is why one sudden movement can empty an entire feeder. The birds are not all reacting to you. Some of them are reacting to each other. And once that chain begins, the yard can go from peaceful to completely empty in less than 3 seconds. But the third test is even more personal, because birds are not only judging danger, they are judging whether you are predictable. Number 3. Birds trust patterns more than people. A bird does not need you to be kind in the way humans understand kindness. It needs you to be predictable. If you refill the feeder at the same time each morning, move slowly, step back, and leave the birds alone, your yard begins to develop a rhythm they can read. The door opens, the human appears, seed arrives, the human walks away. Nothing bad happens. Tomorrow, the same thing happens again, and then again. Over time, that repeated pattern becomes safety. This is why some birds seem to know the person who feeds them. It is not magic, it is memory. The bird has learned that your presence does not lead to pursuit, sudden grabbing, loud noise, or danger. You have become part of the background system of the yard. But trust can be broken faster than it is built. One sudden chase toward the feeder, one dog running loose beneath the branches, one child throwing a ball into the shrubs, one person lifting a phone too quickly, too close, too directly. To you, it may be nothing. To the bird, it is new data. And birds take new data seriously. That is why the pause before flight matters so much. In that tiny frozen moment, the bird is asking a question older than language. Is this safe enough to stay? If the answer is yes, it keeps feeding. It tilts its head. It watches you, but it remains. If the answer is no, the wings open before you even realize the decision has been made. And now, the next time you step outside and a bird freezes in front of you, you will know what is really happening. It is not simply afraid. It is reading you. It is reading the distance. It is reading the exits. It is reading the memory of every morning you have shared with it. And in those 3 silent seconds, your yard is not empty space. It is a negotiation. A small wild creature is deciding whether your world is safe enough to remain inside for one more moment. So the next time a bird pauses before flying away, do not rush toward it. Do not stare too hard. Do not raise your hand too fast. Stand still. Let the moment finish. Because sometimes, trust in a bird's world does not begin when it lands near you. It begins when it chooses not to leave. Tell me in the comments, have you ever had a bird freeze and watch you before flying away? Or have you noticed one bird in your yard that seems to trust you more than the others? I read every story, and I will see you in the next one.